Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel Trishal Creates, and today I'm starting a new section of my channel. It's the podcast section. I would like to call this podcast Tyre Smoke. And yeah, so why did I start a podcast? Well, simply to add another dimension to my channel. And to tell you the stories of all these great automobiles around the world. So, let's get started on today's episode. Oh, yes, and like and subscribe if you really like this one. And you can always give me new ideas for new episodes in the comment section below as long as it's related to cars. Okay, so let's get started on today's episode. Welcome to the first episode of Tyre Smoke. And today we are going to be talking about roof. Not RUF, roof. Alright? Is it your house's roof? No, definitely not. It's something way cooler than that. Roof is, well, it builds upon Porsche chassis. So they order chassis from Porsches, or they take your customer Porsche and they will convert it into one of their own models. In fact, they're not a tuning company, they have their own VIN numbers. What are VIN numbers? Well, look it up. When a car has an individual VIN number, that means it's from a specific company. Okay, and so let's get started on RUF. Now, RUF, they were founded in 1939 by Alois Ruf Sr. Alois Ruf Sr. was quite the car nut. He grew up among tires, cars, wheels, and in fact, his favorite car was a Porsche. Of course, I mean, come on, he had he got fame by tuning Porsches, or rather, building upon their chassis. And in fact, his first project was setting up RUF Automobile GmbH, which was basically like a service center for Porsches. So at the time, Porsche was very young. It was still in its dormant years. It still had released the first 911. It was waiting for orders, and basically these guys were servicing these things and making a living out of it. And so one day, Alois Ruf Jr. had the idea, why not build our own Porsche? What do I mean by build our own Porsche? Well, that means modify a Porsche to make it a bit better. So, but before we go into detail about RUF itself, we gotta talk about Porsche, and specifically the 911. Porsche, well, you all must know Porsche, car nut or not. They are based in Stuttgart, and well, they've gotten fame. And they are mainly into endurance racing, GT racing, LMP1, LMGT3, all of that stuff. And there's a customer racing series called the Porsche Super Cup. It's an incredible series. You should watch it once. And yeah, the Porsche 911, however, is the car that made Porsche. Okay, this is the car that started Porsche on this. In fact, I have a picture of a later example of a Porsche 911. Yeah, I think this is the Carrera 3.8. Yes. So, what is the 911 really? It is basically a very small sports car, and it's light, and it has a flat six engine which produces a lot of horsepower for its weight, and that is why it is the winning one of the most recognizable supercars in the world, and that is why still it's the bedroom wall poster car of many people. And now let's talk about a specific generation of Porsches, the 930 Turbo. Now, what is a 930 Turbo? Well, it is a twin turbo version of a Porsche 911, and these things were famous for being extremely hard to control, very hard to control. Yeah. And what is turbocharging? Well, if you're not a car nut, I mean, I don't think you know this. So, moving on. This is a turbocharger, as you can see in the picture. What it does is, okay, in simple, two turbines join together. Okay, one turbine gets the exhaust gas, it turns one wheel. Okay, now that turbine turns another turbine which sucks in air, compresses the air, puts it through the engine. Okay, the more now when you compress the air, you have more air going into the engine. The more air you have going into the engine, the more air you get to combust. The more fuel you combust, the more exhaust gas is produced. The more exhaust gas is produced, that means you're going faster and faster and faster. Okay, that's how turbocharging works. Now, why did I discuss about turbocharging? Because it's a very, very important topic and the RUF history. Because this is what RUF was supposed to be, a turbocharged company. So, this is a short montage of what you are about to hear in this podcast. Okay. Okay. So, hope you like that. And now, moving on to the to moving further. So, RUF. Now they got it started with the 3.3 turbo. Good looking car, really. And it is basically a 911 turbo with a bigger engine and upgraded gearbox. Doesn't sound like much, but come on, it was a start. Okay? So, what they did was they enlarged the engine. Now, what you get by enlarging the engine, you can get more fuel, you can get more air, and so you have more combustion, and so your engine is more powerful. Alright? And there's a quote saying there's no replacement for displacement. What does that mean? Displacement basically means the size of the engine. So there's no replacement for that unless you turbocharge it. So now what? Now bigger engine, you guys understood that part. Operated gearbox means it was meant to handle more power. Okay, it got 43 more horsepower and 5 gears instead of 4 gears that you will get on the standard car. The orders steadily came in. They were making these things at the rate of 5 per year, which for a car built in a modified shed is not bad. It was a mix of Porsche and special RUF parts. The base was the 930 Turbo, as I said. It had operated Blistein suspension. And what is Blistein? Well, it's a really famous suspension company. They make suspension for race cars and stuff, so yeah. It was slightly wider than the original 930 Turbo. They lightened it extensively. They gave it a huge spoiler, as you can see in the picture. They gave it a 930 style spoiler. I mean, like, they made it a bit huger. They gave it Pirelli tires, which are very grippy tires. Pirelli are the people who make tires for F1, LMGT3. Basically, any recognized sports car or endurance racing competition in the world. I mean, even F1. F1 is not endurance racing, but you get the point. So, as a result of all of this modification, 0 to 100 took 5 seconds, which is zero point 0.4 seconds quicker than the other car. Now, you might think, what is zero point 0.4 seconds? Hey, zero point 0.4 seconds in car terms is almost a year. It is extremely quick. Races are decided by milliseconds. So, zero point 0.4 seconds, if you see it that way, is a huge increase. And it was around 32 kilometers per hour faster. It had a top speed of 280 kilometers per hour, which for the 1970s was a really good top speed, really. And it produced 299 horsepower, 300 horsepower, which is also quite a huge figure for the dry weight of the car, you know. And yeah, that was about the 3.3 turbo. I think the 3.3 turbo was the first image you saw. That was the 3.3 turbo. And now we're moving on to where RUF takes a bit of a turn from their original philosophy, and they produce their first naturally aspirated car that is without a turbo. It is called the SCR 3.2. Now, where did they get the term SCR? Well, it was based on a Porsche 911 SC, and well, SC, and this is a common practice. Just add a race R. SCR 3.2. Very simple. Then, as you can see, the base was the 911 SC. It had 212 horsepower, built bigger engine. RUF built operated gearbox. Now, this was the first step into making custom-made parts for their cars. 0 to 100 took 5.7 seconds, which is zero point 0.3 seconds quicker. And top speed is 255 kilometers per hour, which is 25 kilometers per hour faster than the original 911 SC, which is pretty fast if you ask me for a car built in a shed. And now we come to the era where RUF was seriously getting a go. RUF BTR. Now the RUF BTR was the black and white photo that you saw. Yeah, I know, it's a really good looking car. Based on 964 Gen 911. Now, what did it have in its favor? First thing, 369 horsepower. That is an extreme amount of horsepower for that weight. 0 to 100, 4.7 seconds. We are coming in the range of 4 seconds for a 1980s car. That is crazy. It was zero point 0.8 seconds quicker than the original. And its top speed, we have touched a magic figure, 300 kilometers per hour. 40 kilometers per hour faster. Now, this car, it paved way for the car that people associate RUF with a lot. The RUF CTR Yellowbird. Yes, sir. The one that made the lap record at the Nürburgring? Yes, that one. So, the CTR Yellowbird. What exactly is this thing? Well, it's based on a 911 Carrera 2 3.2, and as you might have guessed, twin turbo lightened body, it has a roll cage inside, updated suspension and brakes. Because, well, of course, it's going to be faster than that thing. Nick, the nickname Yellowbird, well, that came from the Road and Track magazine. And why did they name it the Yellowbird? Because when they were doing the photo shoot, it was very cloudy sky. It was an extremely cloudy sky, and they had noted the sharp contrast between the car's OTT yellow paintwork and the dark clouds. So that's why they named it the Yellowbird. And it has a really excessive body kit, excessive in a good way. And it has a fuel injection system from the Porsche 962, which, as you all know, is a LMP1 race car. It had 463 horsepower, huge figures, Dunlop tires instead of Pirellis. 0 to 100 took 3.6 seconds. Can you believe it? Nowadays, modern supercars, sports cars, my bad, can't do 3.6 seconds that easily. Approximately 3 seconds faster than the original car. Top speed was, and this is where the main plus point for the RUF came, 342 kilometers per hour. This was the fastest car of its time, beating the F40 and the Porsche 959. Now, as you know, the F40 and 959, these were built by companies that had way more resources than RUF. Yeah, and it was approximately 100 kilometers per hour faster than the original car, which is a huge, significant increase. Now, the CTR, well, what exactly did it do? It administered thorough beatings in Nürburgring lap times. Now, the original lap time was 8:05, and if you want to check it out online, it is a really good lap. Yeah, he was a little bit flamboyant with the car, the driver, as in he drifted it into every single turn. So that's probably why it was a bit slower. It's an 8:05, but trust me, if he had not drifted it and if he had driven properly, it would have been a 7:45 easy. But even when this is the slowest lap, okay, it is faster than the unofficial record. This is an unofficial record for the F40 by 5 seconds. Now, 5 seconds in car terms is like 5 years. That is a crazy amount of distance. And you should remember that the F40 was built again by Ferrari, who were much more richer and had way more resources and experience than RUF. And 808 and the lap time of 8:05 beat the 2023 296 GT3 Ferrari. Yeah, it beat a modern race car by 3 seconds. And yeah, and it was, it beat the 9592 in the Nürburgring lap times. And remember, this car had rear wheel drive only. The 959 was an extremely complicated car. It had four wheel drive. It also had twin turbos, but that's a different story. And the aftermath of all of this destruction that the RUF caused. RUF continues to produce performance parts for Porsches. Like, suppose you want to modify your 911, you want to make it spit flames whenever it's starting up. Go to RUF, they have the exhaust system for you. You want to upgrade your Boxster, make it a bit faster, RUF. Want to pep up your Cayman, RUF. And well, they're still building cars, really. They have built several tribute versions of the RUF CTR Yellowbird, the RUF BTR, and the RUF 3 SCR 3.2. They have built several versions of those. You can check them out online. They're really cool cars. And it builds models from its own chassis, and they each have their own individual VIN number, and they're still based in the same shed in Pfaffenhausen. And this car built in a glorified shed, beat the 959 and the F40 thoroughly. And approximately 50 CTRs were made, 29 from individual chassis and 30 were converted from customer cars. The M6 GT3, this is another point to note. The BMW M6 GT3, it's a modern race car, one of the fastest in the LMGT3 class. 815, that is almost 10 seconds slower than the RUF. And all of this lap time again was while drifting. The car has absolutely no driver aids, that's probably one reason. And also, I tried driving it in Azuluto racing, and yeah, it behaved like a demented baboon, but it was still extremely fast. And well, RUF still continues the legacy with the CTR3 Evo, extremely fast car. It's based on a Porsche 911, and again, same thing, same RUF formula, uprated engine, twin turbos. But what's the headline figures? 350 kilometers per hour. That is the headline figures. Really, really fast car. And yeah, they still continue to produce tributes of CTRs and stuff. They're still meddling around with these Porsches. And yeah, that was all about RUF. I suggest looking at the lap once if whenever you have time on YouTube. It is a crazy, crazy lap. Top Gear in fact described it as one of the most watchable laps of that time. And yeah, if you like this episode, please give me ideas for new ones. And that's it. That's the short history of RUF. And if you like this episode, please like, subscribe to the channel. As I said, and I'm saying this again, it's free. You can always undo it if you don't want to. And yeah, this is me signing off. Have a good day. Thanks for listening.